Okay, on this clip, I'll just showcase really quickly some of the video cards I recommend. So, on the very, very bottom of the tier list, um, like if you just need something to you just need some sort of video card to play video games, just to like load up Steam and just to go at least to have a video card of some sort, so that you can download Steam, install a video game, and just go through the mechanics of launching a video game. So you need some sort of video card. So I mean, of course you can try some of the integrated graphics, of course, but I like video cards. I think most of you like to play with video cards. So I think this is like like at the very bottom of the tier list. I think this is number one still. I think it's going to be there for like forever. So out of OEM computers, I think it's like Dell, HP, and Lenovo. Radeon had some sort of OEM deal with them. So this card was supplied to the OEM suppliers. It's called the HD 7570. So 7 for 7000 series, and it's the 570. And then there was another revision called the 8750. So those are the two that I know of. It's 7 750 and 8 750. I'm sorry. 7 570, 8 570. There you go. 7 570 and 8 570. So the very first number is the series, and then the second number tells you how powerful it is. So in this case, it's 570 of that series, which is kind of weak, really weak. So just to give you an idea, this would be something like in a video. This would be like a 7, I don't know, like a 710, 720, 730, something like that. But it's still pretty impressive. You get the one you want to get is the one that says like Dell HD 7570, 1 gigabyte of DDR5. That one's pretty decent for like really low spec games. So like indie games, 2D indie games, like way back. You can set the game at 720p low, and you might be able to play a lot of games just with this alone. To get an idea what kind of games you can play, you can just enter this video card in YouTube search, HD 7570 gaming. Another way to give you some idea is just enter in the search box low spec, top 100 low spec video games. And most of those games will play on this on very low settings, So just to get your computer up and running, this is a good one to have. And I think it's like between $10 and $20. And they come in two options. You can get the half height, and they got the full height bracket. And the only limitation I've noticed is it comes with one DVI and one display port. So make sure your monitor has a display port entry, and make sure you have a display port cable. If your monitor only has HDMI, you could try and buy the display port to HDMI cable, but there's no guarantee that it'll work. You might get a black screen, so buyer beware, right? So if you get this type of card, and it usually only comes with display port, so I would recommend, like all you guys, you should have a display port capable monitor in your house. That way you don't have to guess. But sometimes if you have extra monitors that only have HDMI, then yeah, I recommend them. Make sure you have at least one HDMI to DisplayPort cable adapter in the household, just in case you come across one of these cards and see if it works. But there's no guarantee it works. Sometimes DisplayPort and HDMI are not very compatible friendly. And I have to warn you, if the video card only has HDMI, that could be a problem too, because a lot of HDMI output only you'll get a black screen on certain new monitors and on certain new motherboards. So that's another problem. If you like messing with a lot of old computers, DisplayPort is more compatible friendly with all devices compared to HDMI. HDMI doesn't play well as you go back in the past. So I think that's it. And then from up there, from that tier, you got the classic 750 Ti. This one's kind of an overkill. This is an overkill 750 Ti, because, the way it's the heat sink and the fans. This could have been like a 970 to be honest, But EVGA. This is called the For the Win edition. So that's like the top of the line 750 Ti I think you buy in the world. So it's got the traditional fans, like a really beefier card, and it's got a really nice heat sink, that's really not necessary for this kind of GPU because it never gets that hot, but it looks really nice. So yeah, I think like this is the kind of heat sink you would see maybe in like in a 960. I would say like a 960, maybe a 1070. Yeah, so it's really a nice fin stack. It's got here nice fans. It's way overkill, but it looks really nice, right? And it has a single 6-pin, which it's kind of deceiving because it doesn't really pull that much watts. So it's really a bus powered card and a little bit over a bus powered. Just to give you an idea, it's bus powered and a little bit over bus powered. That's what this is, just to give you an idea. Yeah. So I bought this brand new from a guy here in Chicago, and he bought it from Micro Center. So it's part of the collection, and it's never going to go away. DisplayPort, HDMI, and DVI. And remember, oh yeah, that's another thing on on NVIDIA. Usually the HDMI on NVIDIA is more compatible than on Radeon. Keep that in mind. What's up? And here we got a 570, right? 570. And like I warned you, the HDMI port is not as compatible friendly as DisplayPort. So if I suggest make sure you got a HDMI cable, DisplayPort cable, and even a DVI cable. Make sure you have all these cables and make sure you have monitors for all these kinds of outputs. HDMI, DisplayPort, and DVI. And I can promise you that HDMI is not as compatible friendly as DisplayPort. So if you only have HDMI in your house, you're going to be screwed, because I promise you there's going to be a situation that a particular motherboard or a particular monitor, you're going to get a black screen and you can't see the BIOS. Maybe you can see Windows when it boots into Windows. Maybe you can see Windows, but that's not, that's not a way to, you can't really leave your computer like that, because you got to have access to the BIOS screen, right? So I'm warning you right now that if you only have HDMI in the house, you are going to have some problems. Make sure in your household you have DisplayPort cables and DisplayPort monitors. Yeah. And it's always good to have at least one monitor with the old school DVI cable and DVI monitor. Some monitors have all this. Some monitors still support all three of these on the back panel. Check. That would be ideal. And this is one of the newest video cards to the collection. It's the Dell. This is a Dell Radeon 5, RX 5700 non-XT 8GB. So I already tested it. It runs really cool. It's an 8-pin, but that's kind of deceiving. That's not. It pulls very little power. It's like 120 watts. So, yeah, because look at that. Because like the 50. This has a 570 has 8-pin, right? And this has an 8-pin, but that's not really. That's kind of deceiving. This could actually technically use a 6-pin. This sips power. It's really power efficient, you know. And it's crazy. I mean, the 5700 is really close to a 6600. So, yeah, that's crazy. Like, if you see this video card, just look at it as a 6600. But it's labeled as 5700 not exceed 8 gigabyte. It's pretty much on par with the 6600. And just like the 6600, it doesn't consume very little electricity. Very nice, economical card. Yeah. So, yeah, pretty much the same size. But, yeah, this one's strong, much more powerful than this one. You can look at the benchmarks online, YouTube. And even though it has an 8-pin plug on both, that's not really, that doesn't tell the story. This one, I think, pulls like 170 watts, and this is going to pull like 120. So there's like a 50-watt difference when you're playing a heavy game. Of course, if you're playing like a little light indie game, then it doesn't matter, right? So there's that. And I think last thing I want to show you on this segment is the power supply, right? 500 watt, 80 plus. But I already kind of checked it. The kind of watts you're going to pull out of this is only going to be like maybe 250 watts. So 250 watts, that includes the Core 2 Quad CPU. And pretty much, you know, any 8-pin video card, any of these light pin, 8-pin video cards, you can only pull about 250 watts. So, but these power supplies, you can't get it in just any size. So usually the EVGA power supplies, I think, start at 450 with the sticker, with the 80 sticker. I think the smallest one you can get is 450, so that's where I would recommend, if you like EVGA, look for an 80 plus sticker, and those start, the smallest one is 450, and so really, technically, that's more than enough. But yeah, I mean, if you got like a 450, 500, 550, 600, if they're all the same price, then, you know, get whichever one you want. You know, ultimately, yeah, any of those are fine. Like, you know, even this 570 with the 8-pin, yeah, I would say it's fine. You know, like most of the older computers, as long as you're not overclocking. We're talking like a OEM computer or a custom computer that you're not overclocking. You just leave stock settings. You know, like this is the traditional 570 or all those cards from NVIDIA or Radeon with the single 8-pin. You should be good with a 450 and above, right? 450, 500, 450, 500, 550, 600, you know, 650, you know, kind of like in that area with a decent sticker, decent name brand. If it's not EVGA, maybe Corsair, maybe Seasonic, and several other brands out there. You know, look at the PSU tier list. Look at the Newegg reviews, look at the Amazon reviews, and just do a search on the World Wide Web, and maybe there's a power supply reviewer that knows about power supplies and capacitors, and somebody that opened it up and see how it looks like inside. You know, if you're into like buying like old school power supplies, because I like buying everything used to see, you know, just for fun. And I think that's it for this segment. And the next segment, I'll show you the AMD board I got, the FX. Bye. Okay, hi everyone. In this segment of the video, I was thinking of let's talk about video cards. So I figure maybe everybody likes video cards, right? So I'll give you my 2 cents on video cards, since I have a small collection of video cards. I'm always buying more video cards when I see them on deep discount, open box, clearance, or something like that, or just something I just wanted to have on in the collection, or so I could test them out as I build PCs. I like to have a bunch of video cards on hand just to see how they work, or if I'm always wondering if they're going to post, and if they don't post, why not, and if there's a way to fix it. So I've been doing this about 10 years, so I don't know everything. I'm still learning, I guess. And actually, like, there's a lot of stuff out there I don't care to learn about. So so I just as the years go by, I just pick up on stuff either by accident, or maybe something looks interesting to me, then I'll study up on it. But some of this stuff is just a trial by error, because nobody really talks about it. So sometimes you won't really know what happens, or why something's not working. So I'll try to bring up a couple ideas that maybe I don't really see anybody mentioning. So I don't want to like rinse and repeat what everybody's saying out on YouTube, right? So I will give you a couple weird ideas. Because I don't know, I think I'm kind of weird. I do a lot of stuff very unorthodox, or maybe it's just stuff maybe nobody cares about talking about it. So anyway, let's go about. And so we're going to title this segment of the video as we're going to talk about graphics cards, and I'll probably talk about more graphics cards later on. This is only a small collection I got right here. Some of them, some of my video card collection is already installed in various computers I got around the house. So I can't really show you every single one, because some of them are plugged in to computers throughout the house. So this is like a small part that what I'm trying to do is try to keep a bunch of cards that I'm not going to plug into the computers. So that's what I'm still trying to figure that out. Like, I don't want to keep these cards free and clear, so I can use them to test, just for testing. Like if the next computer comes my way, I need a bunch of cards freely available so I can plug and play into any computer that comes here. So these are some of the cards I try to keep on bay right now. But yeah, some of the cards are plugged in, so I don't have them here, and it's going to be a pain for me to unplug it and put it on the table. So, but yeah, I got a few more bus power cards. Maybe on another day I'll make an ensemble on some of the other cards I got, and give you my ideas. But this is I figure I'll put on hand right now, the ones I have available, and these are pretty popular video cards. So just to give you an idea, and whatever is not here, maybe I'll just mention it for you. So, and so like I said, most of the computers I like to work on are older stuff. My main computer is 12th gen Intel. I got so that's my main computer. So I mean, 12th gen Intel, you can go onto YouTube and you can watch a bunch of videos on that. So I mean, I don't see any reason why I need to tell you anything about that. If you were, you can just go online right now. Everybody's rinse and repeat 12th gen, 13th gen, 14th gen, right? And same thing with Ryzen. I mean, there's like thousands and thousands and thousands of videos on AM4 and AM5 motherboards. So I don't really think I can mention anything that hasn't been said anymore. Plus, I don't know, I get kind of bored of seeing the same stuff recycled over and over again. So, but I figure maybe you'd be more interested in the older stuff. So, well, this is actually not older stuff because I got some modern video cards right here. So, it's not really. Some of these video cards are still pertinent right now for modern computers. So, I'll give you my take on this. So, for example, on pretty much, I would say, okay, so like on a Core 2 quad, let's go way back in the past. Me personally, I really don't really care about anything before Core 2 Duo and Core 2 Quad desktop. So like Pentium 4 and like a Pentium 4 and further back, I really don't care to touch, me personally. So I mean, and plus I haven't really seen anything. Nothing like that has come my way anyway. So, like, I'm not going to on purpose go out there and buy a Pentium 4 or anything before that. Me personally. So, I don't know. Maybe somebody. If something comes my way just by accident or by destiny or something, maybe I'll look into it. But normally, that's where I draw the line. Core 2 Duo and Core 2 Quad CPUs, and the motherboard is the LGA 775. And on the AMD side, I don't know why, but I haven't really experimented with anything from AMD. But what I did this spring and summer, I went on Craigslist, and just by coincidence, there was a few AM3 Plus motherboards with FX CPUs in them. So there was this nice guy on the north side of Chicago. He sold me two of his custom gaming computers that he bought from Fry's Electronics way back in the day. So I showed you one of the motherboards already on one of the video segments. So I don't know if I'm gonna look around my channel for that video. So I bought. He sold me two of his custom gaming computers that he bought on Fry's. The motherboards are AM3 Plus, and the CPUs are 8350, and the other CPU is FX 6300, and the other CPU is FX 8350. So I still got to put those two together, and I'll see if I can have time, and I'll make a little video on those builds. So I got the computers. I bought new cases for them. So we're gonna tear it apart, wash it all down with hot soap and water, dry it, and same thing with the new cases. Strip down the new cases, wash and dry, and then I'll put it all back together, and we'll see how it turns out. Hopefully it still turns on after I wash it, right? So, all right. So, and let's get back to these video cards. So, on these older computers, like I said, I Core 2 Duo, Core 2 Quad is as far back as I go, and then go up from there. And me personally, I think that's where I'm gonna draw the line on AMD is right there, AM3 Plus FX chips. I don't really see any need or care to go further back on AMD. That's good enough for me. I'm happy with the FX chips and the AM3 Plus boards, and I'm happy with that. I don't have any AM4 yet, so and really I don't really need any more computers right now. But maybe later on I'll pick up some AM4, but right now I don't really need to. I don't really care. I have no need to get involved with any AM4 motherboards or chips. So, not yet anyway. I don't see any read. And for whatever reason, I don't see them really super cheap on Craigslist or anything anyway. So, yeah, I mean, really, they don't really come up on sale for whatever reason here in Chicago. So, it is what it is. So it's just more what I see usually is just used Intel and not even FX. You don't really see FX and AM3 for sale too much. So I got lucky on that. Okay, so on these I'd like to recommend like on these older computers first generation Intel, you got 16 gigs of RAM, so that's cool. On Core 2 Quad and Core 2 Duo, usually those motherboards you can only put 8 gigs of RAM, and to me that's kind of like a limitation. So I recommend, if you want to, if you want to play video games on older computers, I recommend trying to get first generation Intel, so that you can get 16 gigs of system RAM easily. I assume look at the AMD motherboards, the older AMD motherboards, and see which motherboards support 16 gigs of RAM. I know for sure, if you get AM3 Plus on FX chips, you can use 16 gigs of RAM on that. And what's nice about at least that platform, I already tested it out, and the DDR3 RAM sticks that you use on Intel, they work on the AM3 Plus motherboard. So that's kind of cool. I don't have to buy any special AMD RAM sticks. So that's what I would do. That's where I go AM3 Plus motherboard, FX chips. I don't think you would. I wouldn't recommend going slower than 6300, because the 6300 you get the 6-core, right? So, and I look at some of the benchmarks. If you go slower than the 6300, then you're gonna, most of the modern games like Cyberpunk, it's gonna hit the CPU at 100%. So it looks like you could still get away with a lot of video games with FX 6300 6-core. Or FX 8300 8-core. And what else? Yeah, and if you want to be lazy and don't worry about any overclocking, because I don't like to overclock. I don't care for overclocking. Get the FX chips that the base clock is already overclocked to 4.0. Okay. So for all those computers, let's say the FX computers and first generation Intel and up, I think still the sweet spot, or the top of the line, is this card right here, which is called the GTX 3060 12 gigabyte. And I think most people would say, well, that's overkill. Bottleneck this, bottleneck that, and I guess that's true. But like I say, it really depends on your situation. Because like let's suppose you got this computer and you got this older platform, but I mean there's nothing to stop you, right, on this really old computer. There's really nothing to stop you, like. You get the 3060, right, to hold you over with this older computer, and there's nothing to stop you from saving up a little money, and all you have to do is replace the motherboard, the CPU, and you keep the RAM sticks, and you can go all the way up to either 4th generation, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 is DDR3, and AMD FX boards. Could be a little bit faster on this, or maybe not. So if you want to go all the way up to Haswell, right, you can just replace just the motherboard and the CPU, and everything else you can just switch over to Haswell platform. Or let's say you want to use newer Intel, then like the Skylake and Kaby Lake, or really anything up, right, from Skylake, Kaby Lake, and further up. We're talking about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So in that case, really all you have to do then is pull out disconnect the power supply connectors, right? You're going to disconnect those 3 extensions, the CPU, 24 pin, and the video card. Well, you can actually leave the video card. You pull out the video card, put it off to the side, disconnect the 24 pin extension, disconnect the CPU extension, and then you just pull out the whole ensemble of the CPU RAM motherboard combo. You just pull that right out, recycle it or donate it or keep it in storage. You know, I don't like throwing anything away, and I don't like selling anything. I like to just make a collection of everything for the most part. But anyway, that's what I would do. You know, if you start out with something like this, have it all preset and ready to go. You already got the brand new video card as well, and then all you just have to remind yourself is that down the road you're going to buy a CPU, RAM, and motherboard combo. You know, and then you got a modern computer. And then, you know, why start out with a cheaper video card? Why don't you just buy the card you're going to use from the jump, and you can just use it on this older system, you know, and then later on just replace the CPU, motherboard, RAM combo. You know, that's one way you can do it. So I don't know, everybody's different, I guess. What else? Oh yeah. Let me show you this. Let me show you this on the charts. I don't know if everybody knows this, but you should know. Right here. There's this chart on the internet by Tom's Hardware. It's do a search for Tom's Hardware GPU hierarchy, GPU tier list 2024. And so this is the current chart. So for me, this is kind of like a cheat sheet, like a Bible thing. So really, most of the popular video cards are on this list. So this is really helpful, like if you're new, or you just need something like or if you're experienced already, this is like a good reminder where most of the cards fall performance-wise. I don't know how exact this is because, you know, this might be a little off because every game, it's going to be a little different from game to game to game, right? So it's not perfect, but I like it. And so from this chart, you know, if you like budget video cards and you like older computers, to make this simple, the cards down here on the bottom right hand, right? Bottom right. This cluster right here. I already blew it up for you. So here's the cards that I recommend. These are the ones you want to concentrate on looking at. So on the very oldest cards, I would look at the 1080, right? Oh, let me see if we can focus it. Okay, so 1080 all the way down to 1050. And then in the second column, it would be the RX Vegas 64 all the way down to RX 560. And in the third column, it would be the RX 57 XT all the way down to the RX 55 XT. In this column, you want to look at what do you call it? I think it's like I think in this column it may be the 2060 Super all the way down to the 1650. Well, the 1630 too, I guess. 2060 Super all the way down to 1630. And on the last column, the ones to look at is the RX 6650 XT all the way down to the RX 6400. You know, depending on, you know, what scenario, you know, what kind of computer you're using. Okay, and then the other page to bookmark is the Tech Power Up. So you enter the video card, RTX 3060 12GB, and you look up the Tech Power website. And then if you scroll down the page, you'll come up to this. It's called the relative performance. And, you know, just to give you an idea, see, there's a 3060-12, the 57 XT is right there, right next to it, right? And then right down here is the 6650 XT, which is a little bit faster and it's a lot cheaper. So, you know, check prices for all these kind of cards. Right now on Amazon, here's the 3612 gigabyte, $284 for a legitimate MSI 2-fan. I believe it has an 8-pin, a single 8-pin. So all you need for this one is, like I mentioned on the other videos, an EVGA 450 watt power supply or something better, right? Here we go again. Here's a Galax RTX 3066 12 gun. This is $270. Supposedly this is a brand new one. This brand is actually I've seen this brand in in other countries. I don't really see Galax here in the United States. This is something you'll see more like in Europe, Australia, and in Asia. But it's supposedly that's a legitimate name brand, that Galax. So that should be a safe car to buy. And on the AMD side, this is one of the cheapest, strongest card, and this is a legitimate name brand. XFX 6650 XT. XFX 6650 XT for $234. And here's another good one, Sapphire Pulse. It's also a 6650 XT, and this is only $209, which is a really good deal, because $209 normally a long time ago was the RX 6600. And Mahinata, imagine now that you can get one tier up from that card. You can go from 6600 to the 6650 XT. This card is right behind the 6700 non-XT, just to give you an idea. But like I say, you can look at the performance chart. Let me bring it up again. Remember? So you got the 6650 XT, which is 17% faster than the 306012 or the 57 XT. I have to warn you, the bad thing about the 57 XT is this takes two 8-pins, and I recommend you need at least a good legitimate power supply with 650 watts. Please, I recommend don't use that card unless you have a 650 watt power supply. I guess technically you can use a 450 watt power supply, but then you would have to cap the frames at 30 frames and undervolt it, underclock it, and make sure you have an AC watt meter, and don't allow that video card to rev up. But I think I think almost nobody's going to do that. So unless you're like an experienced tinkerer like me, there's a few guys out there that do that, but normally I don't see nobody talking about that. So normally RX 5700 is two 8-pins. You need a 650 watt power supply. Okay, so the 306012 is safe. That's a single 8-pin. So 450 watt legitimate power supply. And also the 6650 XT is a single 8-pin. So that's the same thing. 450 watt power supply or better. And that's assuming, we're talking about CPUs that are, you're not overclocking the CPU, right? You leave it on factory settings. You update the BIOS. Leave it on defaults, the default settings on the CPU. Unless, like I say, if we're talking about maybe an i9 or maybe a Ryzen 9, then maybe you want to go up in power supply. But for the most part, you're safe. Because especially in video games, it doesn't matter what kind of CPU you have. The watts really don't go up as much. I'm assuming, unless maybe you're doing some playing those online games, which requires a lot of CPU work. So maybe then you want to consider going up in watts. So. What else? Oh, yeah. If you got any questions, you can always leave it in the comments. However, a lot of times, comments are getting erased, or for whatever reason, they don't want to record. If there's any problem like that, or and you want to reach out to me, you can just go to my channel and get a right. There's a place that you can look for my email address. Click there and then send me an email, and then we can talk like that through email. And I got no problem. Whenever I have time, just send me your phone number and we can do a voice call if you have some questions. Because I know like most content creators, they're kind of like antisocial. They don't want to really talk to anybody. So sometimes it's frustrating. You want to sometimes I don't know. If you want to like actually talk to somebody, literally talk to somebody in a live call, so we can do that. I mean, send me an email, and then we can just do email, and then if you're comfortable or you want to talk to me in person, on the evenings when I'm free from work, then we can I can call you by voice, or we can do it by WhatsApp, or we can do it by Telegram. So, as long as you're cool, I'm cool, so I'll leave that out in case you need just a little question, a little help. Because, if you're new to this, I understand that it can be really frustrating. Especially like if you try, like I say, most content creators, you can forget about it. You're not going to talk to them. They might send you a little response, but it's not the same thing. You need to actually have an interaction. You make a question, and I tell you, well, this is what I think, and then I gotta ask like what kind of situation you're in, financial situation or whatever. What is your outlook? All those weird questions. So you can make a better idea what kind of build or what you could cobble together to get going. And and like I say, sometimes it's not about the computer, it's not about the rig, because really for me personally, I think it's about, like I said in the other video, it's really about this, right? At least to me anyway, right? It's about this. It's about the games. It's not really about that rig, It's about this, like this is really what's more, I think, more important is the games. Because once you have this, once you got your actual games, and I would say not even the SSD, because SSDs are too small. So I would say this you should, let's say this, because I know like that's something I never heard a content creator say that, so I'm going to say it. It's about this, all right? It's not about the computer. It's not about the video cards, because this is always you can always replace this with something else, go back in time, go forward in time, mix and match, etc., right? But it's about this. It's about the games, right? It's not about the rig, but the games. There's a saying like in motorcycle, it's not about your ride, but that you drive. It's not about the ride, but that you ride. Same thing with bicycling. It shouldn't be about the bicycle. It should be about going out. Doing the bicycle paths, going down the mountain or whatever. It should be about that. It should be about you and your experience. So try not to focus too much on the computer, because, like I say, I mean, it's not about that. It should be about this. It should be about your games. Get your games. Make some local hard drives. Keep the stuff local. Because from any day, you might lose internet for whatever, for 1,000 different reasons. You're not going to have internet. Get your games on a local hard drive, right? So remember that 3,000 games should fit on a 20 terabyte hard drive. So, and I don't hear anybody saying that you're spending all this money on the rig and you're not buying hard drives and you're not making backups. So, think about that more than instead of the rig, because it's just another computer. So what? All right. right, so just to give you an idea, so that's what I would say, like for most older computers, this is like the most I would go up is the 3060. It has a single 8-pin. You can use this on a 450 watt power supply. Yeah, and you can use this pretty much on all the old computers. You know, this is still actually feasible on first generation Intel or on FX chips. You know, AM3 Plus. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course, it's going to be a bottleneck. So what? You know, it's your computer. You know, if you got people like trolling you or whatever, just ignore them and just, you know, say, leave me alone. But yeah, of course, there's going to be a bottleneck. Of course. So what? It's my computer. What do you care how I spend my money? So this is $270 to $280, you know. And like I say, on this retro computer, this is just as expensive as getting an AM4 computer, which is crazy, right? So, yeah. Well, this CPU is like $20 right now, but that motherboard is between, I would say, $60 to $100. Yeah, $60 to $100 the motherboard, maybe even more, maybe $125 that motherboard, and the CPU is like $20. And the DDR3 RAM is DDR3 RAM. You know how much that is. You know, so AM4 is going to be about the same price. I figure it's about the same price if you get some bummy M-ATX, Ryzen 3, or the cheapest Ryzen 5, cheapest DDR4 It's about the same. It's about the same price as that. You know. So I think most people prefer AM4, of course. You know. But you know, I'm into nostalgia, so to me, you know, it's not about that. It's not about the money or the performance. I just want something old school, right? So this is the most I would say, because if you go over a 3060, then the performance is it's going to top out. There's actually, I doubt there's going to be any difference between 3060 and 3070. Very little. I don't think it's really worth it. And the price starts to ratchet up. The price starts to go way over budget. That doesn't make sense. So I would say like this is the most I would use this is like a 3060. And the other card, like I say, you know, because I think most people want an NVIDIA card, so this is the one I would get, the 3060 or something equivalent. And then on the AMD side, get the 6650 XT for, what do we say, 210, 220, 230? That one's a little bit faster than this one, but the problem is it's AMD, and you know, I don't know, you know, if you care about AMD or not. So I like both, so I would say just get one of each, which is what I'm doing. I buy a little of everything. So that's the top, right? Right. This is the very top of the tier list that you should be buying for any old computer. Any old computer out there. This is what you want. You can the advantage of NVIDIA over Radeon is the HDMI outlet. That's another thing nobody ever talks about. I'm going to tell you. Usually you have DisplayPort and HDMI in video cards nowadays, right? Be aware, HDMI on NVIDIA is more compatible friendly than HDMI on Radeon. So if that's important to you, you know, if you don't have a lot of selection of stuff, you risk, if you get a Radeon card, you risk getting a black screen and you won't be able to see the BIOS. So if you want the most compatibility with the HDMI, get NVIDIA. You know, I tried it so many times on all these other video cards, and I know that as a fact that the HDMI output on an NVIDIA card is more compatible friendly than on Radeon. So you risk seeing a black screen if you use a Radeon on certain monitors and on certain motherboards and on certain projectors. You know, anything with HDMI, you'd be surprised how many black screens you get with the Radeon. and you're basically stuck. And then I don't know, you have to go out there and then say, oh, I made a mistake, and then you'll have to return the card and get an NVIDIA card. So if you want to save yourself the hassle, then just stick with NVIDIA, or do what I do and just buy a little bit of everything. So it's nice to have backups, but most people don't have backup video cards. And another thing I know is like what most people are doing is it's very rare that you see people collecting video cards. They usually buy a video card, use it for a while, and then they sell it to somebody, and then they replace the card. And I don't know why, but they don't like keeping their old cards for some odd reason. So, and then later on they're crying, oh, I wish I kept my card. Yeah, you should have kept your card. Okay, and I like bus power cards too. Let's see. Let's go down the stack. Oh yeah. Below the 3060, you got this one, the RX 6600 or the RX 5700 non-XT. Both of them have usually a single 8-pin, and they run slower than a 3060, I believe. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm almost sure that this runs a little bit slower than the 3060, or on par depending on the video game. That's the other thing, But it's a lot cheaper though. But this doesn't. The 5700. This was a pretty good deal. Right now, you can get the 5700 for like $130, and the RX 6600 is like $180. So it depends on where you are in the world. So, but this is an excellent card. This is just about as fast as a 6600. The only thing bad about it, I think, is because the 5000 series, it doesn't play well with Alan Wake 2 for whatever reason. But I think all the other games work just fine. So, if you're playing Alan Wake 2, then get a spare computer and get an NVIDIA card, I guess, or get the 6600 then, if that's important to you. So you got that, and then these are the two most popular video cards to this day, all around the world. I think RX 580, right? And here we got the RX 570, RX 580, 570, right? They come in 4 gigabit and 8 gigabit. So it really depends on what kind of video games you're playing. If you're playing really old video games, then save money and you can get the 4 gigabit version. Especially, like I say, it depends on where you live in the world, because in the developing countries, you might not be able to get the 8 gigabit, so you can just get the 4 gigabit version. And be aware though, it's 170 watts. So these are kind of power hungry. Not so much power hungry, but you know what I mean. But like I said, if you want to save electricity, just put a cap on the frames. I usually put a cap of 60 frames, and that'll keep the watts down. But if you leave it unlimited, and the frames go higher than 60 frames, the higher the frames, the more electricity the video card consumes, right? Okay, so RX 570, 580, and from that cluster you got also the 400 series. Oh yeah, and with Radeon and with Radeon cards, all the way back to with Radeon cards all the way back to HD 7750, you can go to the Emmer9 Zone website, and you can download the modded drivers there. So if you want to experiment with modified drivers, go there. So yeah, but that's only like a Radeon thing. So if you want to tinker around with Emmer9 modders, then pick up some Radeon cards, HD 7750 or newer, or just go to the website and look at their list of video cards. You'll see what I'm talking about. And here's one of my bus powered 750 Ti. This is my top of the line 750 Ti. It's a For the Win edition. It has the 2 fans like a regular video card, and the coolant sink is a fin stack, just like a regular, you know, more beefier video card. Because normally on 750 Ti's it's a solid aluminum block, but this one went fancy with a nice fin stack like a regular video card. And this one has a 6-pin, but it doesn't really use the 6-pin. It's just a little bit over bus powered. Okay, so that's a 750 Ti. This one is a good one for really old computers, like the Core 2 Duo, Core 2 Quad. This is an oldie but goodie. You can put in there and you can play older video games, right? So this is a goodie. And you know, oh yeah, when you're buying video games, make sure you have a collection of low spec video games and middle spec video games. Just do a search on YouTube for top 100 low spec games, top 100 mid spec games, or top 1000 low spec games. Just to give you an idea, if you don't have an idea like what kind of games to buy. And look, you can also look at when you look at a video game, scroll down the web page and look at the minimum requirements just to give you an idea. It's not really accurate, but you know, some developers know what they're talking about, some don't. So you know, and also just go just do a YouTube search for the video game and the benchmarks to give you an idea. Especially the content creators that are in the developing world, like in Latin America or in Asia or Eastern Europe. Those content creators, they might have more experience working with low spec computers or potato computers, right? And for bus power, here's my favorites. Here's my 3 favorite Radeon cards. This is like at the very bottom of the stack that I recommend is the HD 7570 or 8570. This is like, I would recommend this would be like the minimum. It's called the Dell HD 7570, 1 GB of DDR5, and it has DisplayPort only, and it also has a DVI. So make sure you have monitors at home that have DisplayPort and DVI. You should always have at least a couple of old monitors, right? Because like I said earlier, on Radeon, the DisplayPort outlet is going to give you much better compatibility to see the BIOS screen. So remember that. If try to stay away from video cards that are Radeon and it doesn't have, and it only comes with HDMI, you're going to have a problem. Like I'll show you this one. And here's a new card. Here's a new card to my family of collection. This one's called the HD. Oh, can you see that? HD. I'm sorry. No. This is it's the remake of the HD. I believe it's right. HD 7750. I think this is the HD 7750. But now the new version is called the R7-450. So R7-450. I consider this like the baby brother of the RX 550. So that's how I remembered R7-450, and this is the baby brother for the RX 550, which I have right here. So let me show you that one, right? And this one, I think a lot of people are already familiar with this one. This is the RX 550, right? And the RX 560, right? You got the 550, RX 460, and then the RX 560, you know, on this cluster video cards. But nobody really talks about this one. This is the baby brother, right? Basically, this is the baby brother of this one. So R7 450, RX 550, you know. So 450, 550. So this one is not too far behind. I think it's like a 10% slower, 20% slower. So it's not that bad, you know. If you're playing like a really old video game, you know, you can just save money and buy this one. This is like $30. This is like a $30 video card, and this one's $50. So you can save 20 bucks. So 30 bucks, 50 bucks. And these are both bus powered. And remember, for these cards, make sure you got a DisplayPort cable, right? DisplayPort cable, and make sure you get the version that has DisplayPort on it, because if it has HDMI like this one, you're going to have a problem. You're going to get a black screen on certain motherboards, certain monitors, you know, because like I said, HDMI on a Radeon card is not as compatible friendly as NVIDIA. Ooh, sorry about that. And I think that's it. Yep. So I think that's the last thing I wanted to mention then. Yeah, just a reminder then. Okay, so here's an NVIDIA card, right? Here's an NVIDIA card, and here is an RX 550, right? And so remember, just always, never forget that on NVIDIA, the HDMI on NVIDIA is much more compatible friendly than HDMI on Radeon. So be aware of that. If you're using HDMI and you have a Radeon card, there's a danger that you're going to get a black screen and you won't be able to see the BIOS screen. So if you're liking Radeon cards, then I recommend sticking with DisplayPort, you know. So not all monitors out there, but preferably you want to get a monitor that has all the ports on it. You want to get a monitor that has HDMI and DisplayPort and the old school DVI, right? You know, and some monitors also, in addition, also has the really old school VGA. So why not? You know, keep that in mind when you buy a monitor. That you have all those inputs, and also the compatibility might be different from name brand to name brand in the monitor. Like for example, I know like on my Samsung new monitor, that HDMI is not compatible with Radeon, but it's compatible with EVGA. Now on some of the other monitor brands, it might be different. I guess like from brand to brand and year to year, the HDMI standard is might be different. So just because it says, just because the monitor says AMD FreeSync doesn't mean anything, you know. So keep that in mind. You know, some brands are more picky, so it'd be best to get a monitor that have. So yeah, that I noticed that like on my Samsung monitor, if I use it has both DisplayPort and HDMI. So if I use the HDMI, I get a black screen from Radeon. But if I use my Radeon card, and my Radeon card has DisplayPort, and I plug in a DisplayPort cable to the Radeon card, and I plug in the DisplayPort cable to the DisplayPort input on the monitor, then I can see the BIOS screen. So there you go. So keep that in mind. Always make sure your monitor has both HDMI and DisplayPort and DVI, and make sure you have all three cables at home. You want several lengths of HDMI, you want several length cables of DisplayPort, and you want a couple cables of DVI, and at least maybe one VGA cable too. You know, if you're into like old school stuff, you got to have all those different cables, because it sucks, you know, when you're working on a computer and say, hey, you know, I need this, I need that, and then you got to order it, and then you got to wait like a week or two, you know. And not only you have to wait on the order, but then you, if you're busy with life, going to work and etc., you know, you can't just do it anytime. You have to like see when you have some free time to actually concentrate on working on your computers, you know. So there's that, and I think that's it. You know, video card. We talked about the video cards. We talked about old computers. We talk about somewhere around the 3060 or Radeon 6650 XT. Those are the two cards, or below on the GPU tier list is where you want to look at. You know, check prices, price and availability wherever you are in the world, right? You know, and like I say, you know, don't be afraid to buy bus power cards. Like I say, the HD 7570, that's at the very bottom of the stack. This one is pretty fair now. It's only $15. $15. You got to have DisplayPort though. But this is very compatible friendly. I think it pretty much, you can see the BIOS if you, as long as you have DisplayPort. This will work with pretty much any motherboard. You know, so think about it. For only $15, you can get any old computer up and running. A Core 2 Duo, Core 2 Quad. You know, OEM power supply. I think this only consumes like 40 watts. Yeah, I think it only consumes like 40 watts. So it runs really cool. So any thrift store computer you find that has Intel Core 2 Duo, Core 2 Quad, and you know, you want to see if you can play something, right? Play some sort of light video game. Yeah, just have this video. Just buy this video card. Well, I think everybody should have one of these anyway, because you can use it as a tool to make sure the computer runs, right? So you buy your little thrift store computer, and you get this, install hard, you know, assuming that the computer has a CPU, RAM, motherboard, then all you need is a used $15 SSD, $15 video card. There's $30 right here, and you plug that into your thrift store computer, and you know, you got to have a small collection of video games that are really light, or I think Steam. Yeah, you can go to Steam, you can go to GOG, and they have a free section. You know, Steam has a free library section, and GOG has a free library section of some games that are really light and old and for free. So, you know, download a few of those games, put it on there, and then you can start testing your computer, make sure it runs, right? So that's another option. You know, I like bus power cards. I like tinkering with low spec computers. So this is more useful. The bus power cards would be something more, you know, like for kids, or like I say, in developing countries where these video cards are a lot more expensive than here in the United States. These are rip-off expensive. Like if you ask some of the people that live in other developing countries, these are rip-off expensive, you know. So this is more practical for around the world. Plus, if you're traveling, you know, if you're going to other countries, I would say buy these little cards. Take one and put it in your book bag, and of course take your video games. And you know, once you go to another country, you know, you can take this, and either you can buy a desktop for yourself, or maybe you know, you're on vacation, you want to build a computer for yourself or for somebody, for a friend or family member in another country, and then you can leave the computer for them, you know. So, you know, get somebody going, right? So I think that's it. Enough ranting and raving on graphics cards, and that's it. So on another segment, I don't know. I think that's it. So maybe what I'll do is I'll put together the Core 2 Quad. I still got to put it in the case, and then we'll go to the kitchen and I'll show you some real-time benchmarks in I think in Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, because the Core 2 Quad is kind of, it won't launch Cyberpunk, but Core 2 Quad will launch Grand Theft Auto. So we'll do a bench test on Grand Theft Auto in the kitchen, and then if I got time, I'll show you this computer. This one launches Cyberpunk, so I'll show you Cyberpunk, how that looks like in real time under a load. If you're curious, we'll do that. I'll do the Core 2 Quad. I'll film that. I'll do a short benchmark with Grand Theft Auto, and then we'll do the Cyberpunk on this computer. I'll show you that on my kitchen setup. Right now I use the kitchen table. It's just easier for me. Here in the dining room we do the build, and then in the kitchen table I actually bench test it. So that's my laboratory. That's how I do my laboratory here. So I think that's all for tonight. So thank you for watching, and like I say, if you have any questions, you can either leave me a comment. If it's like a really long question, it'd be more practical just to send me an email, and you can write me a detailed question or whatever, and then you can give me your phone number, and I can assuming you're in the United States, you can voice call me, or I can in the evening whenever I'm available, we can do a chit chat either through email or then a voice call through the phone. And if it's in other countries, we can just do email, or we can do Telegram, or we can do WhatsApp. In other countries, we can do either a voice call or just text messages. So, in case you need a little bit more information, because most content creators out there won't talk to you, really, unfortunately. Everybody's in their own little world. So I'll be happy to help you if you really need that interaction. No charge, of course. I'm not asking for any money or anything like that. So I think that's it. I'm starting to I'm getting a sore throat. I can't believe I need to get my coffee. I need to drink a little coffee. Okay, so I hope that all that rant helped a little bit, or I hope I didn't confuse anybody, and I hope I didn't trigger anybody. I'm trying to be cool. I don't want to trigger anybody. Let's try to be let's try to be cool. I hope I didn't trigger anybody. So so that's it. All right. Good night, everybody, and on to the next video. And check my channel, see what other videos I got on computer stuff. Bye.